I knew something was wrong when the medical kit clicked open and everyone went quiet. Not normal quiet. Not the kind you get when trainees are tired, thirsty, and praying the instructor forgets the last drill. This was the silence people make when they have already started deciding what kind of woman you are. We were 6 miles outside a small desert town in Arizona, running a heat injury simulation at the rescue training center. The sun was low but still mean, bouncing off the sand and climbing up through my boots. My shirt was stuck to my back. My lower spine had been filing complaints since breakfast. Airway first, I told the group. Then skin temperature, pulse, mental status. Heat can make a healthy person look drunk, stubborn, or stupid. Sometimes all three. A few of them laughed. Then Eli Porter, a young trainee with sunburned ears and the nervous honesty of a golden retriever, opened the emergency medication pouch. His face changed. "Ma'am," he said carefully, "the seal's broken." Across the circle, 6 trainees stopped moving. I held out my hand. "Give it here." The plastic seal had been cut clean, not cracked from heat, not torn from use, cut. Inside, 1 small training vial of restricted pain medication was missing from the inventory sleeve. This was not some movie drug bust. It was controlled medical inventory for simulation use, locked, logged, counted, and boring enough to make most people lose interest after the second form. But in emergency training, boring paperwork keeps people alive, and that pouch had been assigned to my station. I felt every set of eyes on me before anyone said a word. Someone behind me muttered, "Maybe she forgot to lock it." Another voice, softer but worse, said, "She looks exhausted."
That was the one that got under my ribs. Not because it was cruel, because it was believable. I was 44 years old, a former Army medic, 6 weeks past burying my father, and about 8 months past a decent night's sleep.
My knees argued with stairs. My hands sometimes shook before coffee, and gray had started showing at my temples like little white flags. People used to look at me and see competence. Lately, they looked twice. Dana Whitcomb arrived before I called for her. She crossed the sand in pressed khaki pants and a training center polo, clipboard already in her hand. Dana had the kind of professionalism that never wrinkled. "What happened?" she asked. I handed her the pouch, broken seal, 1 vial missing. I need the prep log and the access sheet. Dana looked at the pouch, then at me. Not angry, not surprised, concerned. I had learned to distrust concerned. "Rachel," she said, lowering her voice just enough for the trainees to still hear the shape of it. "No one is accusing you." Every person there immediately understood that I was being accused. "I didn't say they were," I replied. Her eyes softened in that practiced way administrators use right before they take something from you. "You've been under a lot of personal strain. After your father, and with your return to full instruction, we just need to make sure fatigue isn't affecting your judgment." There it was, fatigue. Such a gentle word for making a woman sound unsafe. Before I could answer, a voice came from behind the trainees. "Was the kit logged before Rachel touched it?" Owen Maddox stood near the rescue truck, sunglasses hanging from his collar. I hadn't seen him in nearly 12 years before he walked into that center 2 days earlier as the new safety consultant. The last time I saw Owen, he was pulling me out of a damaged aid station in Iraq while I was bleeding through my sleeve and cussing at him for ruining my triage setup. He looked older now, so did I. Dana's jaw tightened. "We'll review all procedures." "Good," Owen said. "Then start with the procedure before the instructor." Nobody clapped. Nobody gasped. Real life rarely gives you clean, dramatic moments. But the trainees heard him. More importantly, Dana heard him. The drill ended early. People packed equipment around me without meeting my eyes. Inside the supply room, I checked the clipboard. The prep signature was not mine, but the scanned copy in the system had my initials beside the kit number. Then I noticed a folded piece of paper tucked beneath the clipboard clip. No name, no date, just 1 sentence written in black marker. "Some people should stop practicing medicine before someone else gets buried." My mouth went dry, because that sentence was not about the missing vial. It was about a woman who died years ago, and someone at that training center had decided I was finally going to pay for her. The thing about being suspected is that it changes the temperature of a room before anyone admits it. After Dana ended the drill early, the trainees packed up with the careful politeness people use around broken glass. Nobody said I stole anything. Nobody asked if I was all right. They just stopped looking directly at me, which somehow felt worse. I carried the medical pouch back to the supply room myself because I needed something to do with my hands. The training center was not impressive from the outside. A row of beige modular buildings sat against miles of Arizona scrubland,
All dust, chain link fence, sun bleach signs, and rescue trucks that rattled every time they started.
The place smelled like sunscreen, rubber gloves, old coffee, and hot metal. I used to like that smell. It reminded me of work that mattered. Now, standing under a buzzing fluorescent light, with a clipboard in my hand and a note about someone getting buried folded in my pocket, it reminded me how quickly a place could turn against you. I checked the prep sheet again. The kit had been assembled before my station received it. The handwriting beside the original timestamp was not mine. But the scanned version in the system had my initials entered beside the kit number. That should have made me angry. Instead, for one ugly second, it made me tired. That is the part people do not understand about being worn down. Sometimes you stare at a screen and think, maybe I really did miss something. Maybe grief had made holes in my memory. Maybe 44 was the age when people stopped trusting your hands and started trusting the rumor about them. My phone buzzed. Claire, I almost let it go to voicemail, but guilt has excellent timing. You still at work? My sister asked. Hello to you too. Rachel, that tone. The little sister tone that still made me feel 13 and in trouble. Yes, I said. I'm still at work. We need to talk about Dad's house. I closed my eyes. I know. I've been busy. You've been busy for 6 weeks. Dad died 6 weeks ago. There was a pause. Not soft, sharp. I know when he died, Claire said. I was there too, remember? That landed harder than I wanted it to. Because she was right. She had been there at the end, crying into both hands while I adjusted the morphine schedule and told the nurse where the extra linens were. I had not meant to become the person in charge of my father's death. Something started falling apart, and I stepped under it. I'm not doing this right now, I said. That's the problem. You never do it. You manage it. You schedule it. You label boxes before anyone else is ready to open them. I looked down at the clipboard. My handwriting was on 3 inventory correction forms from that week. Neat, block letters, controlled, the handwriting of a woman trying not to shake. I kept Dad comfortable, I said quietly. You kept him organized, Claire said. There's a difference. I did not have an answer for that. After we hung up, I sat on an overturned crate of neck braces and stared at a faded poster about heat stroke prevention. Confusion, dizziness, rapid pulse, loss of consciousness. I wondered if grief should have its own poster. Symptoms may include controlling everyone, avoiding phone calls, and pretending paperwork is a personality. By the time I walked back toward the instructor lounge, the sun had dropped lower and turned the windows orange. The center looked almost peaceful from a distance, like a place where nothing ugly could happen, because the desert was too wide to hide it. That was a stupid thought. Ugly things hide fine in daylight. The instructor lounge was just a narrow room with mismatched chairs and bad coffee. Owen Maddox was standing by the counter, turning a paper cup in one hand. I had known him for exactly 1 week in Iraq, and then not at all for 12 years. Back then, he had been all sharp edges and command voice, the kind of man who could make chaos feel like a hallway with exits. He had pulled me out of a damaged aid station after a mortar hit too close, and I had repaid him by yelling that my patient was still inside. He went back in for the patient. That was the part I remembered most. Now he was older. Silver showed at his temples. His right shoulder moved like it had a long-standing argument with the rest of his body. You okay? He asked. No, his eyebrows lifted slightly. That was me being emotionally available, I said. Don't get used to it. Wouldn't dream of it. He handed me a paper cup. The coffee was terrible, which felt appropriate. Dana said they're doing a formal inventory review tomorrow, he said. Of course she did. You want advice? No good. I was going to give you a question. I looked at him. Who had access before you signed for the kit? I took a sip of coffee and nearly died from bitterness. You always this relaxing? Only when paperwork gets interesting. Paperwork was not interesting. Paperwork was how quiet people survived loud rooms. Before I could answer, the door opened and Dana Whitcomb stepped in with a folder under one arm. She looked at Owen first, then me. Something moved behind her eyes, not surprise. Calculation, maybe. Rachel, she said, pleasant as a clean knife. I was hoping to find you. Lucky me. Her smile held. Given today's irregularity, I think it would be best if Jenna takes over medical inventory for the next few sessions. Jenna was 28, bright, eager, and still young enough to believe exhaustion was a character flaw. That seems premature, I said. It's not disciplinary. It never is when people say it that fast. Owen said nothing, but he did not leave either. Dana tilted her head. You've had a difficult season. Your father's illness, your leave, returning full-time. No one questions your history here. History, not skill, not judgment. History. It is amazing how one word can turn a living woman into a framed certificate on the wall. I can handle my station, I said. I know you believe that. There it was again, the soft voice. The open face, the gentle removal of authority. That was Dana's real power. She never had to push hard. She only had to make concern sound more reasonable than respect. I felt Owen watching me, but he let the silence stay mine. Finally, I said, put the request in writing. Dana blinked once. Excuse me? If you're removing me from inventory responsibility, put the reason in writing. The room changed, not dramatically, just enough. Dana closed the folder slowly. Of course, after she left, Owen looked into his coffee. That was good, he said. My hands are shaking. Still good. I laughed once, short and tired. Later that night, I stayed after everyone left. I told myself I was checking tomorrow's lesson plan, but really I was checking whether I still recognized my own name inside the system. The access log showed 3 entries for the supply room that morning. 1 from Jenna, 1 from me, 1 from an administrator code with no name attached. I took a picture. Then I saw the scanned inventory form again, my initials beside the kit number, RC. But I never wrote my initials with periods. A small detail, too small to accuse anyone, too small to save me. But not too small to remember. I locked the office and stepped into the warm desert dark. Across the yard, Dana stood near the admin building, talking to Jenna under the security light. When she noticed me looking, she smiled and raised one hand, friendly, professional, concerned. I waved back because women like me are trained to survive by being polite first and angry later. But on the drive home, I understood something I did not want to understand. Someone at that center was not just questioning my work. They were teaching everyone else how to stop seeing me. By the next morning, the rumor had learned how to walk. Nobody announced it. Nobody stood up in the dining trailer and said, Rachel Cole cannot be trusted with medical inventory. People almost never destroy you that honestly. They just adjusted. A trainee who used to ask me where to place a tourniquet suddenly asked Jenna instead. 2 rescue volunteers stopped talking when I walked by the coffee urn. Eli Porter gave me a quick nod and then looked away like eye contact might require him to choose a side. That was how I knew the missing vial had already become more than a missing vial. It had become a story. And in that story, I was tired, grieving, older, and maybe not as sharp as I used to be. The desert was already heating up by 8. The air had that dry Arizona bite that makes your lips crack before lunch. We were scheduled for a heat stroke simulation using 3 field stations. Mine was Station 2, under a faded canopy near the rescue trucks. I checked my equipment twice before the trainees arrived. Gloves, cooling sheets, training saline bags, pulse oximeter, scenario cards, sign-out form, everything where it belonged. That should have comforted me. It didn't. Dana walked past just as I finished the count. She had a clipboard against her chest and sunglasses tucked neatly on top of her head. Good morning, Rachel, she said. Dana. Her eyes moved over the table. Not enough to be obvious. Enough for me to notice. Jenna mentioned you were here early. I like knowing what I'm responsible for. That's understandable. There was that word again. Understandable. The polite cousin of unstable. She smiled and moved on. The first hour went smoothly. I demonstrated how heat stroke can make a patient confused, combative, or dangerously calm. I talked about checking skin, mental status, and response time. For about 20 minutes, I almost felt like myself. Then one of the training's saline bags split open when a trainee lifted it. Water spilled across the table and dripped onto the sand. The trainee froze. I barely touched it. I took the bag from him. The seam had been weakened near the bottom. Not sliced, not dramatic. Just damaged enough to fail when handled. Dana appeared before anyone called her. I looked up at her and felt something cold move through my chest. She wrote on her clipboard. Second equipment irregularity under your station, she said quietly. Who staged these supplies? Rachel. Who staged them? Her face remained pleasant. Supplies are prepared through the normal rotation. That wasn't my question. Around us, the trainees had gone still again. I hated that. I hated the way every ordinary sentence now sounded like testimony. Dana lowered her voice. This is exactly why I suggested taking pressure off you. No one benefits if you push yourself past capacity. For a second, I saw my father's hospital bed instead of the training table, the oxygen tube under his nose. The pill organizer I labeled by day and time. Claire standing in the doorway, crying because I had already called hospice before she was ready to hear the word. You push yourself past capacity. Maybe I did. Maybe that was my entire personality. I finished the drill because quitting would have made the story easier for everyone else. Afterward, while the trainees broke for lunch, I peeled the damaged label off the saline box. Underneath was an older label from Station 1.
observation that did not prove anything. Equipment got moved all the time, labels got reused, people made mistakes. Still, I folded the label and put it in my pocket.
That was the first piece. The second came 20 minutes later. I was outside the vending machines, trying to convince myself that peanut butter crackers counted as lunch when Owen Maddox stepped beside me. "You're doing that thing," he said. "What thing?" "The thing where you pretend thinking hard is the same as eating." I looked at him. "You always this emotionally invasive?" Only before noon. He bought 2 bottles of water and handed me one. I did not say thank you right away. It annoyed me that I wanted to. Owen leaned against the wall, careful with his right shoulder. "How many irregularities before it becomes a pattern?" I opened the bottle. Broken seal, altered scan, damaged saline bag. And Dana appears before anyone calls her. His eyes stayed on the parking lot. That part bothered me too. "I don't need you to rescue me. I know, I expected him to argue." Men often heard that sentence as a challenge. Owen just took a drink of water. "I'm asking if you're documenting," he said. That landed differently. Not rescue. Respect. "I took pictures," I said, "and I kept the label." "Good. Is that your whole heroic speech?" "Pretty much." I laughed despite myself. It came out rusty. Then Eli Porter walked up with his lunch tray, stopped when he saw us, and looked like he immediately regretted having legs. "Mom," he said to me, "can I ask you something? I already knew I was not going to like it." "Go ahead." He shifted his weight. "Is it true you left somebody behind overseas?" The vending machines hummed behind me. Owen went very still. I kept my face calm because that is what medics do. If your face changes, everyone else starts bleeding faster. "Who told you that?" Eli's ears went red. "I don't know if I should say. That usually means you already know you shouldn't have believed it." He looked down. I softened my voice. "Ellie, I'm not angry at you. I'm asking because that's a serious thing to repeat." He swallowed. "I heard it from Mason. Mason heard it from one of the assistant instructors. He said you made a bad call in Iraq and someone died because of it." There it was. The note in my pocket seemed to burn through the fabric. Someone else gets buried. The missing vial and the damaged supplies were no longer just about competence. Someone had reached backward into my life, found the place that still hurt, and started pressing on it in public. That was the second piece. I told Eli the truth, but not all of it. "I treated casualties overseas," I said. "Some lived, some didn't. That is not the same as leaving someone behind." He nodded, but he looked shaken. Not because he believed me yet, because he realized the story he had been handed might have a cost. After he left, Owen said nothing for a long moment. I stared at the mountains in the distance, pale and hard against the sky. "There was a woman," I said finally. "Mara, rescue support. We were hit during a transport hold. She was bleeding internally. I advised stabilization before movement." Owen's voice was quiet. And extraction got delayed higher up the chain. Radio relay, command routing, weather, all the usual beautiful ways systems fail, and people still look for one person to blame. "Was it your call?" "No." The answer came fast, too fast, because legally, officially, procedurally, it was true. Emotionally, I had never believed it. That was the third piece. Not the report, not the rumor, my own guilt. Someone was using a door I had left unlocked for years. That evening, I sat in my car with the engine off and called Claire back. She answered on the second ring. "I can't fight tonight," I said. "I wasn't calling to fight. You texted me 3 paragraphs about Dad's storage unit." That was logistics. I almost smiled. Careful. Apparently logistics is my trauma response. Claire exhaled. There was a softness in her voice that made me more nervous than anger. "I went by the house," she said. "You still have his medication chart taped to the fridge." I looked through the windshield at the training center lights flickering on across the lot. "I forgot it was there." "No, you didn't. She was right. I had left it there because taking it down felt like admitting the schedule was over."
"No more doses, no more alarms, no more reason for him to need me," Claire said. "You know I loved him too, right?"
My throat tightened. "I know. Sometimes it didn't feel like you knew." I closed my eyes. At work, they were turning me into a woman too exhausted to trust. At home, my sister saw me as a woman too controlling to love. Both versions had enough truth in them to hurt. "I'm sorry," I said. Claire went quiet. I had not said that before, not without adding an explanation. After the call, I went back inside the training center. I told myself I only wanted to check tomorrow's schedule. That was a lie, but a useful one. The hallway was mostly dark. The administrative office door was cracked open, and the copier inside was still warm. On the output tray sat one forgotten page. I should have walked away. I did not. It was a photocopy of an old incident report. I recognized the format before I saw the name. Mara Whitcomb. My pulse went slow and heavy. One line had been highlighted in yellow. Medic Cole advised delayed movement. That was all. One sentence, cut loose from everything around it. Not the vital signs before it. Not the hemorrhage warning.
Not the weather delay. Not the relay failure. Not the final review clearing the triage sequence. Just one sentence. A piece of truth sharpened into a weapon. My hands did shake then. I will admit that. Not because I was afraid of Dana. Not yet. Because I suddenly understood how easy it was to ruin a woman like me.
You did not need to invent a monster. You only needed to take the worst moment of her life, remove the context, and whisper it to people who already thought she looked tired. I folded the page and put it in my bag. When I stepped into the hallway, Dana was standing at the far end near the exit. Neither of us spoke. She looked at the bag in my hand, then she looked at me. For the first time, her expression was not concerned.
It was personal, and that was when I stopped calling them accidents. The next morning, I almost quit. I wish I could tell you, it was because I had some noble realization about choosing peace over conflict.
It wasn't. I was standing in my kitchen staring at a half-written email on my laptop. Subject line, temporary leave request.
Dear Administration, due to personal circumstances and recent events, I stopped there. Personal circumstances. It sounded cleaner than the truth.
I am tired. I buried my father 6 weeks ago. I don't know if people think I'm dangerous or just disappointing. I'm not sure I trust my own memory anymore. I sat at my small kitchen table with cold coffee and reread the email 3 times.
Then my eyes drifted toward the refrigerator. Dad's medication schedule was still taped to the side. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, morphine.
Nausea medication, hydration reminders. I had left it there because taking it down felt like admitting there was no one left to save. I remembered something my father used to say whenever I apologized for things that weren't mine to carry. You don't have to win every fight, Rach. But don't hand people a lie and call it peace. I stared at the email, then I deleted it.
I wasn't staying because I wanted revenge. I was staying because disappearing would become part of the story. By 7:30, I was back at the training center. The desert morning was cooler than usual. The sky stretched pale pink over the distant mountains while instructors unlocked storage units and trainees stumbled toward coffee like survivors of a minor apocalypse.
I carried a legal pad under my arm, not because I had a master plan, because records had always calmed me. I wrote down everything I knew. Broken seal, scanned initials that weren't mine, damaged saline bag, relabeled equipment, Dana appearing before anyone called her. Anonymous note, photocopied report. Rumors. I drew lines between them. Then I wrote one sentence at the top of the page.
Assume nothing. Verify everything. That was how medics survived. That was how I intended to survive now. Around 9, Owen found me sitting alone outside the equipment bay.
You look terrifying, he said. I've discovered bullet points. He glanced at my notebook. Should I be worried?
Probably. I handed him the page. He read through it without interruption. You made a timeline. I like timelines. You always did. I looked up. You remember that? You alphabetized trauma supplies during a mortar attack. I blinked. That was efficient. That was deeply concerning. A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Then Owen handed the notebook back. You missing anything? I frowned. What? People. I looked down at the page.
He was right. I had listed objects, events, documents. I hadn't listed witnesses. You think somebody saw something? I think systems don't malfunction in isolation.
He folded his arms carefully, favoring his shoulder. Use the process before the process uses you. I nodded slowly.
No rescue, no dramatic intervention, just advice. Respect. The first person I approached was Eli. He looked nervous the second I asked if we could talk privately.
I'm not in trouble, right? Only if your coffee preferences are criminal. He relaxed a little. We sat outside near the training tower while rescue volunteers practiced rope systems overhead.
Ellie, I said gently, I need you to tell me exactly what you heard about me. His ears turned red again. I don't want to make things worse. You won't. He hesitated. Then he said, Mason told me you made a bad call overseas. I wrote that down. Mason said he heard it from Eric. Eric was one of the assistant instructors. What else? Eli looked uncomfortable. Someone else said maybe you were having memory problems. I wrote, and another person said administration was already reviewing your performance before the missing medication. I think Jenna mentioned hearing it. I thanked him. Then I sat in my car afterward and stared at the notebook. Different people, different versions.
none identical. If someone wanted to destroy my credibility, they weren't using one accusation, they were creating atmosphere.
By lunchtime, I had spoken to 2 more trainees. One heard that I was burned out. Another heard I had become emotionally unstable after my father's death. A third heard I had nearly been forced into retirement years earlier. None of those stories matched, but all of them pointed in the same direction.
Rachel Cole cannot be trusted. I wasn't collecting proof of sabotage. Not yet. I was documenting a pattern. Later that afternoon, I requested access to archived incident reports from overseas deployments.
Officially, I cited educational purposes. Unofficially, I needed to know whether my memory had betrayed me. Mara Whitcomb. I typed the name with shaking fingers. The report took nearly 20 minutes to retrieve. When it finally appeared, I forced myself to read every line. Date.
Location, weather conditions, response sequence, patient status. Then I found it. Medic Cole advised delayed movement pending stabilization. That was the highlighted sentence from the photocopy.
Except now I kept reading. Patient exhibiting signs of internal hemorrhage. Movement likely to accelerate deterioration. Delayed extraction ordered following communication disruption between field command and transport authorization.
Further review determined triage recommendations aligned with protocol. I stopped breathing. I read it again and again. For years, I had remembered Mara's death as evidence of my failure.
I remembered her blood on my gloves. I remembered wishing I had done something different. I remembered thinking maybe I had hesitated too long. But the report said otherwise. Protocol had supported my decision. The system had failed, not me. I leaned back in my chair and pressed both palms against my eyes.
Because here's the cruel thing about guilt. Even when facts clear your name, your heart sometimes refuses the update. Around 4, Claire called.
I almost ignored it. Instead, I answered. You busy? She asked. Always. How's work? I hesitated. Complicated. There was a pause. Then Claire said, I know I haven't made this easy. That surprised me enough to stay quiet. I kept thinking if I got angry enough, she continued. Maybe I wouldn't have to miss Dad. I swallowed hard.
I thought if I organized enough, maybe he wouldn't die. Neither of us spoke. Then Claire laughed softly through tears.
We're ridiculous. That's genetic. The laugh broke something open inside me. Not healed, just opened. Before hanging up, Claire asked, Are you okay?
I looked across the parking lot. Dana was speaking with Eric near the administrative building. They stopped talking when they noticed me watching. No, I said honestly, but I think I'm getting there. That evening, I finally did what I'd been avoiding. I knocked on Dana Whitcomb's office door. She looked up from her computer. Rachel, we need to talk. She gestured toward the chair. I remained standing. Boundary. That mattered. I reviewed Mara Whitcomb's report, I said. For the first time since this started, Dana lost control of her expression.
Only for a second. Mara, Whitcomb, the same last name. The same report someone had photocopied and highlighted. The same note warning me about burying someone else.
My pulse slowed, everything sharpened. Mara was your sister, I said quietly. Dana stared at me. You shouldn't have accessed those files.
I almost corrected her. I had every right. Instead, I said she mattered to me too. Dana's eyes turned cold.
You don't get to say that. I treated her. You failed her. The words landed exactly where she intended. Except now I had the report. I had the timeline. I had documentation. I didn't have certainty. But I had enough to stop apologizing automatically. I am sorry she died, I said. Dana looked away. I think about her more often than you'd probably like.
Silence. Then she asked quietly, Do you know what it's like to lose your sister? No. I steadied my voice.
But I know what it's like to spend years blaming yourself because someone else needed a reason. Her jaw tightened. Neither of us moved. I didn't accuse her. I didn't threaten her. I didn't ask whether she planted evidence or spread rumors. Because I still didn't know. I only knew grief had entered the room before the missing medication ever did. I walked out of Dana's office with my notebook pressed against my chest. By the time I reached the parking lot, Owen was waiting beside my car. How'd it go? He asked. I looked down at the timeline I'd built. Rumors, records, reports, witnesses. A sister's grief, a medic's guilt. No instant answers, I said. Owen nodded. Those usually aren't real anyway. I stared at the desert stretching beyond the training center. The sky had gone orange and gold. For the first time since this started, I wasn't trying to decide whether I was imagining things. I wasn't trying to convince myself I deserved what was happening. I wasn't wondering whether disappearing would make everyone more comfortable. I had something better than certainty. I had enough truth to keep going. And I finally understood the difference between defending my innocence and surrendering my voice. One was about winning. The other was about refusing to help someone rewrite who I'd been all along. The review meeting took place on a Thursday morning in a conference room that smelled faintly of dry roast markers and burnt coffee.
There was nothing dramatic about it. No military investigators, no courtroom, no surprise witnesses bursting through the door with life-changing evidence. Just fluorescent lights, folding chairs, and people trying very hard to sound professional while discussing whether I had become a liability.
I arrived 10 minutes early because old habits die hard. I carried a binder. Inside were copies of everything I'd documented.
Timeline, inventory logs, equipment records, written notes from conversations with trainees, archived reports, the original incident review involving Mara Whitcomb.
I wasn't there to prove I was perfect. I was there to prove that the story being built around me wasn't complete. Dana entered without looking at me. The center director followed behind her, along with Jenna and one of the administrative supervisors. Owen came last. He sat near the back. He didn't smile. He didn't offer encouragement. He simply nodded once. I appreciated that more than I could explain.
The meeting began exactly the way uncomfortable meetings always do. Carefully. "We appreciate everyone's cooperation," the director said. Nobody appreciated anything. He adjusted his glasses. "Our goal is to review concerns regarding inventory discrepancies and recent procedural irregularities." Irregularities. Professional language had an incredible ability to make pain sound administrative. I listened while Dana summarized the sequence of events.
Missing medication, damaged equipment, concerns regarding communication, staff stress. At one point, she used the phrase supporting employee wellness.
I almost laughed. Instead, I opened my binder. When the director asked if I wanted to respond, I said yes. Then I took a breath. I had spent years apologizing before speaking. I wasn't going to do that anymore. "I'd like to focus on records," I said. I walked them through the timeline, the original kit assignment, the discrepancy between handwritten documentation and scanned initials, the altered labeling on the saline supplies.
The sequence of equipment irregularities. I didn't accuse anyone, I simply placed each fact where it belonged. Then I presented summaries of conversations I documented with trainees.
Different rumors, different versions, the same conclusion, that I had become someone people should quietly stop trusting. Nobody interrupted. I moved to the archived report involving Mara.
The room shifted almost immediately. I explained the highlighted sentence that had circulated without context. Then I handed over the complete report.
Recommendations aligned with protocol. Delayed extraction caused by broader communication failures. Final review cleared triage decisions. Silence settled over the table.
I looked toward Dana. "I've carried guilt about Mara for years," I said. "I don't need to rewrite history to admit that."
Nobody moved. "But guilt isn't evidence," Dana's expression tightened. "You don't understand what losing her did to my family."
"I know," I answered quietly. "I know enough to understand grief can become very persuasive." Her eyes met mine for the first time. "You still went home," she said. "I buried my father 6 weeks ago," I replied. "My marriage ended because I forgot how to be anything except useful. I've watched patients die. I've questioned my own decisions for years." I swallowed. I know what it means to survive something someone else didn't. The room remained painfully quiet. I also know that blaming myself didn't bring anyone back. Nobody clapped. Nobody cried. Real life almost never gives you emotional background music. The administrative supervisor eventually spoke. "We need to conduct a formal review regarding documentation access and communication practices." That was it. Not victory. Procedure. Dana sat very still. She didn't confess. She didn't apologize. She didn't beg for understanding. "I never intended to harm anyone," she said eventually. The sentence hung there, because intent and impact rarely arrive together. The director recommended temporary reassignment while additional reviews took place. Dana nodded once. Jenna stared at the table. Owen remained silent. The meeting ended exactly the way it had begun, with paperwork. Outside the conference room, people returned to work. Phones rang.
Coffee brewed. Rescue trainees complained about the heat. The world continued. I think that's what surprised me most. I had imagined that if the truth finally appeared, something inside me would transform instantly.
I'd feel vindicated, powerful, relieved. Instead, I mostly felt tired. Eli found me near the training yard that afternoon. He stood awkwardly beside the rescue vehicle.
"I owe you an apology," he said. "You don't owe me anything."
I should have asked questions before believing people. I looked at him for a moment. He was young enough to think mistakes permanently defined character. I remembered being that age. Then I remembered all the ways older people had disappointed me. "You know what?" I said. "You'll probably get this wrong again someday." "Do better sooner," he nodded. "Okay," that felt honest. Later that evening, I called Claire. She answered immediately.
How'd it go? I leaned against my kitchen counter. It was realistic. What does that mean?
"It means nobody rode in on horseback." She laughed softly. "You would have hated that anyway, true." I looked toward the refrigerator. Dad's medication schedule was still taped there. "I think I owe you an apology," I said. Claire went quiet. "I kept trying to save everyone," I continued. "Dad, you patients, trainees, you couldn't. I know that now." "You didn't let anyone help you." The words hurt because they were true. I thought needing help meant I was failing.
Claire's voice softened. "You're not the only person who loved him, Rachel." I closed my eyes. "I know."
This time I meant it. 3 weeks later, I expected a revised role at the center. Less field instruction.
More curriculum oversight. At first, it felt like surrender. Then Owen pointed out something obvious. You trained half the instructors out there.
"So, experience doesn't disappear because your knees complain. My knees don't complain." He looked at me. "Rachel, they negotiate aggressively." That made him laugh. We were eating pie at a diner outside town. Nothing romantic about it.
No violins, no declarations. 2 people with aging joints arguing about vocabulary. Eventually he said, "You know, being needed and being valued aren't the same thing."
I stared down at my coffee. For most of my life, I had confused the two. Patients needed me. My father needed me. Work needed me. Need had become proof of worth. Without it, I didn't know who I was.
"What if people stop needing me?" I asked. Owen considered the question carefully. "They will." I waited. Then he added, "That doesn't mean they stop seeing you."
I looked out the diner window. The Arizona sky had turned orange over the highway. Cars moved steadily through the fading light.
People carrying groceries, families heading home, teenagers laughing too loudly, ordinary lives. I thought about Dana, about Mara, about Claire.
About Eli. About the younger version of myself who believed competence could protect you from grief, aging, or misunderstanding. She had been wrong.
You can do everything right and still become the villain in someone else's unfinished story. You can spend years making yourself indispensable and still wonder whether anyone would choose you if you stopped carrying everyone else's weight.
I used to believe trust meant never making mistakes. Now I think trust is something quieter. Maybe it's the willingness to let people see your scars without offering your shame as proof of guilt.
Maybe healing isn't becoming who you were before loss. Maybe it's learning who you are after it. And maybe the most dangerous thing anyone can convince you of isn't that you're broken. It's that you should disappear quietly so everyone else can stay comfortable. If you've spent years apologizing for taking up space because life left marks on you, I hope you ask yourself one question. Who taught you that surviving was something you had to be sorry for?